welcome back to another reading vlog. So usually when I do reading vlogs, I start them because I'm reading a specific book that I want to capture that I'm reading. But this time around, I thought I would just do a weekly reading vlog and see how I do about checking in every day. You know, it's not my strongest suit, but we'll see how I do. So today, we are on our way to do some baby shopping. We're gonna make some big purchases today, the stroller and a couple other big things that we really need to get. So we're off to do that, and then after we buy those things, we're gonna go to Starbucks and do like a reading, kind of study, productivity kind of session. And then Hayato has a private lesson that he's gonna teach in the area that we're going to. So we have a couple things to do today. As for reading, I am about 75%, I think more than that, maybe 80%-ish done with the Splinter King, which is the sequel to The Black Coast, which I adored. And I'm really enjoying the Splinter King as well, but it's giving me more like 3.5-4 star vibes. I really like the world that this is set in, but I feel like there's too many points of view and we're jumping between so many characters that I almost forget some of the characters. Like when we go to their perspective, I'm like, who is this again? And it takes me a little while to make that shift. And being, you know, almost 500 pages into a book, I should not be doing that anymore. Like I should know the characters well enough. So I think there's just too many points of view that we're following. And also when the point of views shift, it's always at a cliffhanger moment, which I understand why that's important to do that, but it's to the point where it's like you're purposefully giving me blue balls. It's annoying like at this point. So I don't know, something about the structure is not working for me, but I still really like the world that we're in, the characters, and the plot is interesting. So it doesn't quite have middle book syndrome, but something's not hitting exactly in the way that the Black Coast did for me. But I'm definitely hoping to finish that today. I think that can definitely be done. We haven't decided what we're doing for dinner tonight yet, so I don't know, maybe I can get this man to make one of my favorite meals.
Oh, I forgot it.
Maybe.
We're thinking to making frozen food.
We were both off today. It's so rare. We should try to make something. Maybe. Well, we'll see. So we might eat out, we might eat frozen food, we might make something at the house. But my last couple vlogs have not had as much food as the previous ones, and a lot of that was due to the fact that I was not eating due to pregnancy issues. So, you know, that kind of explains that. But now that I am back, I have my appetite back, hopefully you guys will be seeing more food. But yeah, check back in when we do something, when I do something. When something happens. So we are now home and we have gigantic portions of seafood veggie cream pasta made by my lovely chef of a husband. Very quickly. The display is not the best because I did it and I just did it quickly. But this one actually is quite pretty. I didn't do too bad with that one. This one is left to be desired. But so excited.
True love.
Itadakimasu.
Itadakimasu.
Are you done?
Yes.
You sure?
Why don't you get your book by yourself?
Because I'm pregnant. Because I'm carrying your child. How's that?
Yeah. I'm gonna bring all the other books for you.
That's what I thought. Okay, so I'm a little behind on updating you guys on this vlog, but what else is new? So yesterday in the afternoon, I finished the Splinter King before work. Don't mind my nails, by the way. We're gonna take this nail polish off today. I finished the Splinter King, and I actually really enjoyed this. I tabbed the shit out of it. I tabbed a lot more than I thought I would. Because I'd heard kind of lukewarm things about this book from those who had read it after The Black Coast. So The Black Coast was 5 stars for me. It just really hit all of the points that I enjoy in fantasy. I do have a full spoiler-free review for it, so feel free to go check that out. But overall, what I really liked about it was the way that Brooks explored different cultures and how they would try to adjust to coexisting with each other. And I loved all the nuance and the details he put into that part of his work. The plot was a little bit too wrapped up with a bow for my liking, but overall I had such a good time with The Black Coast. I ended up giving it 5 stars. This second one I ended up giving 4 stars too. It did have a little bit of middle book syndrome in the sense that the plot was very meandering. I felt like we followed way too many POVs, honestly. There were only like 2 or 3 that I actually cared about, but we were following at least 5 or 6. And I would hit like a cliffhanger and then turn the page and it would change, perspectives, and it would be one that I didn't care about. And that was really jarring whenever that happened. So I wasn't a huge fan of that. And that made the plot feel meandering as well. And I also just wanted more dragons in this book. So another thing I really enjoyed about The Black Coast is that dragons have a very like How to Train Your Dragon vibe to them. There's all different kinds, you can train them. And there was this whole sequence of one of our main characters training these little baby dragons. And I really wanted to get more in depth with that in this second installment because we spent quite a bit of time on that kind of with The Black Coast, and it was teased that we would get more, and then we didn't get more. So those 2 things took off the star for me. But as a character-based reader, the meandering plot didn't bother me so much because when I cared about a POV, I really cared about it and was invested. So it didn't bother me so much. But if you're a plot-based reader, just be aware going into this second book, it definitely meanders. For sure. I also think Brooks did an amazing job continuing on with talking about the details and the complexities of people trying to coexist together or, giving up on the idea of coexisting. There was also a plot thread in this book that had to do with religion in a fantasy world, and people know that's like a buzzword for me. I love when fantasy explores the power structures of religion and what place it can hold in a society, what it can be used for, how it can be harnessed. And I think that plot seems like it's going to be really interesting if it's handled well in the 3rd book. But I do think that there's a lot of things that were brought up in this book that would be hard to bring to fruition in just the 3rd book in a series. So I'm really interested to see how Brooks does that, because not only did he hint at the religious plot point here, he also hinted at, or not hinted, but put on the page meddling gods, which people know that I also adore. And I would just like to see him really delve into all of these different interesting aspects of the world he's introduced. We'll see if it actually comes through though. I also really did enjoy the gender fluid aspect of this book. There's a gender fluid society, again, is in my review of The Black Coast, but I loved Brooks' exploration of what that might look like when it's not something new to a society. It's already baked in, it's not questioned, it just is the way things are. And I really enjoyed his exploration of that as well. Very, very queer friendly. So if you're looking for queer friendly fantasy, this is for you, absolutely for you. So I finished The Splinter King, and then today I just picked up The Lost Metal by Sanderson, by Brando Sando. And I'm only like 28 pages into this book. Last night I watched a couple recaps of the story thus far for the first 3 books in Era 2 of Mistborn, because while I love those books, I wasn't feeling rereading them all. Before I got to this one, I just wanted to go straight into this one. So those of you who've made those videos on YouTube, you are doing the Lord's work. Thank you for that. I also did a little refresher of Allomancy, Furukami, and hemalurgy. I think that's how you pronounce those. I've never really said those out loud. But anyway, the 3 magic systems in the Mistborn world. I did some, catching up on those as well. And I felt ready to finally start. So this morning I started it. Like I said, I'm only about 28 pages in, but I'm already having so much fun. I've said this many times on my channel at this point, but I think Era 2 is better than Era 1. I will die on that hill. The character work is just better. It's just better. It can't exist without Era 1. I'm not going to fight, people on that, but like, I think it's better. So I'm enjoying myself immensely so far. I've just read so much in the Cosmere that coming back to anything in the Cosmere is just comforting to me. It's like a warm blanket, and I've already giggled and smiled and just, I don't know, I've had such happy emotions in just the first, section of this book. So I've also heard from people that Cosmere connections really take off in this book, and I'm excited to see what Sando does with that. I am going to keep this vlog spoiler free though, so you'll get my reactions to things that happened. I'll tell you maybe where I am in the book when that reaction occurs, like what page point or what percentage, but I am going to keep my actual words spoiler free. As for non-reading life updates, today is a national holiday in Japan, so both Hayato and I have today off. And we just got a bunch of actually baby stuff in the mail, big baby purchases. So we were unwrapping those and making sure everything was in order there. We're gonna go shopping, and then tonight I think I'm gonna make quesadillas for dinner, which we haven't had in a long time, so that's exciting. Hayato went climbing last night, and then today I did a little bit of yoga and a light workout. I really miss my heavy workouts from the gym, but well, I have the rest of my life to get back to that, I'm only pregnant for 9 months. I can make it work. Besides shopping and a couple things around the house, we don't have too many plans for today. It's already halfway over anyway. So I'll probably be doing some reading later tonight when we come back from shopping, and I will check back in with you guys then. I forgot to mention this one quote that stuck out to me so far in the Lost Metal. I marked it with 2 tabs, so that's how you know it made an impression. But we have Wax, who's just talking about the other people in the government, and he says, city folk, particularly politicians, were intimidated by small arms. They preferred to kill people with more modern weapons, like poverty and despair. And I actually laughed out loud when I read that, and then immediately got sad because the truth of that statement. I'm just having a great time being back in Sanderson's writing. So that was that. I just wanted to share that quote because I've thought about it more than once after reading it already. So I already took a bite because Yagura was hungry, but I made delicious quesadillas for Hayato and I tonight. It's onions, peppers, shredded chicken, all with taco seasoning, some homemade guacamole, some salsa, and for Hayato, sour cream.
Tasty sour cream.
Not a fan of sour cream. So we're gonna dig in. Itadakimasu.
Itadakimasu.
Hello, coming at you from much later. The next day. I think it's the next day. Is that when I filmed? Anyway, later. I think it's the next day. Yes, it is. It is the next day. If you can't tell, I am not banging on all cylinders right now. I had a very busy day. We got a new, we had to replace our dishwasher because the old one broke, so the guy came really early this morning to do that, so I had to do that. Then I had a Japanese lesson today, and then I had to go do a bunch of visa and like baby name stuff. Look, if you've been in an international relationship, you know how much of a pain in the ass all this stuff is. But Japan is particularly a pain in the ass with names because they have a very archaic naming system. And Hayato and I are trying to figure out how to give our baby the name that we want her to have. But yeah, Japan's just not very flexible with that type of stuff. So I had to go and investigate and see what options are available to us. Doesn't seem like many, so we have some discussions that we need to do, the two of us. But yeah, so that was just a lot of paperwork and waiting in lines and not fun. But then the little clip that you saw before this is I did stop to get myself my caffeine allotment for the day. I allow myself 1 cup of caffeine. So I went to a coffee shop that I had never been to before, and I got a cinnamon cappuccino, and as you saw, also a little bit of cheesecake. The cinnamon cappuccino was damn good, and it better have been because that thing was like $9. But it was delicious. The cheesecake was also pretty good, and I did some research for like the baby stuff there, but I also did read 3 more chapters of The Lost Metal, and I'm telling you guys, I'm having such a fun time. Not only do I love the characters in Era 2, Wayne, you know, is featuring so prominently in this, I love it. I'm just really excited because clearly this is very blatantly Cosmere connections everywhere, and I love when those moments come up in Cosmere books, and I think this is a whole nother level. Hi, Pretzel. So I'm having such a good time, and I can't wait to read more of it tonight. So I came home and I had my dinner, and I'm all settled in. Hayato's not home from work yet. He's gonna get home real late tonight, so I'll probably be going to sleep before he comes home, actually. Life of a chef. So I'm going to, yeah, just set up here with Pretzel for a little bit, do some reading, and then pass out. I have Friday Conversations tomorrow morning over on Steve's channel, so I have to get up really early for that. I have to do that before work tomorrow, so I'm probably going to be going to sleep early. But I'll check in if there's anything specific with the Lost Metal that I get to tonight that I want to talk about. But so far, just know I'm having a fantastic time. Okay, so it is the next day, and I have about an hour before my hair appointment. I just finished work. Finally getting my head shaved again, and I cannot wait. Deciding what color to do still, but while I'm waiting, it is Starbucks season in Japan, and they go hard for Starbucks here. I mean Starbucks season, wow. Sakura, cherry blossom season in Japan, and they go hard for cherry blossom season here. So they have a Starbucks frappuccino, cherry blossom frappuccino. I'll let you guys know what it tastes like. Looks pretty good. So I'm gonna drink that. I've got the Lost Metal here. I am going through it pretty quickly, actually, and having the shit out of it because there's so many Cosmere connections I can't help myself. So I'm gonna read this for about an hour and then get my hair done. Haircut complete. I feel like a whole new person. I got my undercut done. It's hard to show the back now, but I want to do a change, complete change, and that's exactly what I got. I'm so happy. Okay, I am now home after work and after my hair appointment. So first things first, you may notice that I look very different. I decided to go with a color that I've never done before, and my hairstylist and I had a fantastic time with it. It's a lot darker than I've ever been. Not ever been, but it's been a really long time since I've gone this dark, and I'm really enjoying it. I have to get used to it. It doesn't look like me in the mirror. So in the next couple videos, you're gonna see me, when I actually record, you're gonna see me with darker hair, which is exciting. I also got my undercut done, which, you know, I've had, you know, an undercut since, I don't know, I was in university, first year of university, so it feels like weird to not have one. Hold on, let me get all the way up so I can show you guys. Because I realized that I almost never show the actual undercut when it's fresh. Because I get like designs put into it by my stylist. So kind of is a shame to not show off his work. So there's the side there, you can see. And then I have this side as well. Oh, I didn't get everything there. And then let me see, how can I turn around here to show you guys? So that is what the back looks like. with my fresh design cut in. Y'all know that you can't say nothing to me once I get my hair done, okay? The first couple days after I get my hair done. Some people like to get their nails done. Other people like to pamper themselves in other ways. For me, my hair. I love playing with my hair, so I'm feeling good tonight. I was planning on actually filming tonight, like actual sit-down videos, but I had a live this morning, a Friday conversation page chewing and work, and then this hair appointment, and I crashed when I got home. I am so tired, so official filming is not happening tonight, but I do have time tomorrow, so I'm hoping to go to bed early tonight and then get up early tomorrow so I can film before I do all the other stuff I have to do throughout the day. So fingers crossed that I can do that. But that means that tonight, since I'm not filming, I did just edit a page chewing thumbnail, which is very exciting because I'm gonna get one of the videos I have to film is my March TBR, and I'll be announcing who we have on page chewing in March. So I was editing one of those thumbnails, but now that I'm finished with that, I think I'm going to get in my pajamas, you know, take my earrings out, that kind of thing, and settle on the couch with a little bit of ice cream and read some more of The Lost Metal. So I read a little bit of this today. I am making quick progress. I'm on page 155 now. How many pages does this have? 400 something, right? Yeah, 400 something. And I'm blowing through it every time I actually sit down to read it. I'm still not looking at the damn camera. One of these days I'll get used to filming with my phone, but it is not this day. But I am still having so much fun with this book. You can see so many tabs already. There's so many Cosmere connections. I can't help myself. I am just having a fantastic time. So I can't wait to get back to this tonight, get all settled in, and read some more of this. And I don't think this is a spoiler to say because he pops up in almost every single Cosmere book, but Hoyd just popped up, and every time he pops up in books, I'm like, I have to tab him every time he pops up. So he just appeared in this story, and I'm cheesing already. I love it. I love it. If you're watching this point in the vlog, let me know in the comments down below, what are you reading right now, and how are you liking it? All right, guys, it's the next day. If you can't tell, I actually put myself together today and was able to film one video thus far. I had to do a couple other things after that, so I plugged I was charging my camera, and it should be ready for another round of filming. If I can get 2 more videos filmed today, I'll be pretty happy. I do have a couple other things that I need to do, but I think they can, I'm losing sunlight essentially. So I film with a ring light, so it's fine, but the balance of the light is a bit different if there's still natural sunlight in the room. So hoping I can use the last of that. First I have to bring my plants in actually. But I'm hoping I can use the last of that to film the last couple clips of this. Also, something that I haven't showed are the plants. So Hayato and I have tons of plants, but the problem is they had a really rough winter. They're doing okay, but we need to do all of the maintenance like repotting and taking off the dead parts of them and stuff like that we haven't done yet. So, you know, if you're missing some of that plant content that I had, it's not very aesthetic at the moment. Considering they just came through winter. We have had some really good orchid blooms from plants that we have inside, so I can show you a couple of those because I think people really enjoyed those aspects of my vlogs earlier in the year when things were really blooming. So hopefully I can get some shots of that for you guys. Actually, when I bring my plants in, I can show you the orchids. We also got a fish tank, so I haven't showed that in any of my vlogs because okay, listen. We got a bunch of fish, okay, on a whim. I think I mentioned this ages ago in one of my Japan travel vlogs, but we got some fish called medaka, which are just, you know, $2 fish that you can get from the side of the road. When we were traveling once, someone just had like a roadside stand. Only in Japan would you find this, but it's an unmanned like station on the side of the road that had a bunch of containers and fish food, and then it was an honor system where you just pay and take the fish that you paid for. And so we were like, why not? So we got a couple fish, and then so we brought them home and put them in like a little tank, and then those fish had babies. lots of babies. So we got way more fish than we expected to. And then we bought a couple other like nicer medaka fish from another like small town that we went to, and there was like a whole shop where it was this woman's hobby, and we wanted to support her, so we bought a couple. And she was like, I'll throw in some shrimp for free and a snail or two, because both of those help clean the tank. So we were like, okay. And then guess what? Who had babies? The shrimp and the snails. And they had babies at such a rate that I don't know if it's a fish tank or if it's a snail tank or if it's a shrimp tank. I don't know what we have anymore, but there's a lot of living things in there, and the ecosystem is thriving, but it looks a goddamn mess because there's so many things in there. So I guess I just haven't taken the time to really show you guys, but I'll show it to you guys. Why the fuck not? I'll show you what it looks like right now. We are buying one fish that hopefully is a male and will not have babies, buying one fish that eats snails. So hopefully that can balance the population a little bit. Fingers crossed. So we do have that over on the where all of our plants are as well, over on the windowsill. So basically I haven't been showing you the growing things or the things about my life so much in the last couple vlogs, and I think people mentioned that they like that. So that was a tangent, but the point is I'm going to try to show you some of those things in the vlogs now and going forward. Reading wise though, I did read a couple more chapters of The Lost Metal. I'm trying to switch my habit to reading a couple chapters in my book rather than looking at my phone when I first wake up. It's hard because, you know, habits are habits, but this morning I succeeded. So I read a couple chapters of Lost Metal, and I mean, the only word that I can use is fun. I've used it a million times so far, but it's so fucking fun. I just read a really fun battle scene with a lot of different combinations of different magical powers, and I just love seeing what Sando does, mixing those different magic systems together. And there was a really good point in that battle with Wax, and I was like, this is made for a movie. So that was a great way to start my day. Like I said, I've been filming and doing some stuff around the house, so I haven't read any more, but I do think after this next bout of filming and putting my plants away and stuff like that, I'll sit down and read a little bit more. I am also listening to the audiobook. I was just looking for my phone like a dumbass. Taylor, you're using your phone. That's why you can't find it. Anyway, also on this device that I am currently using, I am listening to the audiobook of The Memory Police by Yoko Ogawa, and it really sucked me in from the beginning. I was expecting to like this, and I've wanted to read it for a really long time, but I'm happy I finally picked it up because I've blown through 13% of that book already, and I'm very intrigued. So I might really, I don't know if I'll finish it today, but with like putting my plants away and stuff, like making dinner and all that, I'll probably be listening to it. So I'm gonna fly through this real quickly, I think. So I'm also listening to that and thoroughly enjoying it. I don't know what I'm gonna do for dinner yet. Hayato's working until the close of the restaurant, the tempura restaurant he works in tonight, which means he'll probably get home in the wee hours of the morning. So I'm, doing my own thing tonight. And I had a really big salad for lunch, which was delicious, but I feel a craving for chicken nuggets like the adult that I am. So I think I might do chicken nuggets for dinner. I do have, healthy, like, frozen meals and all, like, all the stuff that I've prepared, but, like, I might just throw that out the window and do chicken nuggets. It feels like a chicken nugget night, so we'll see. Okay, so our plants are currently, outside after I wash them, but this is the tank. If you can see, all of those black spots are snails, which is just... You go, Glen Coco, but, like, there's way too many of you. These are all the shrimp. There's so many. They have babies too quick. And then these are the, the fish. So we also have baby fish in here, if you can see them. They're just getting big enough that it'll be time to release them into the larger tank soon. As you can see, snails have taken over that too. We've got some fish over here. The plants, the potos and the monstella, are living their best life in here, but the plants in the middle are also having a great time. They expand slowly, you know, in the water, but there was a lot more room when we clean the tank. Essentially, we kind of ball this up so it doesn't take up so much room, but it needs to be cleaned again because it's kind of like expanding. But a lot of shrimp and fish and stuff like to hide in there, so we have to be careful when we clean it. So basically it's a thriving ecosystem, but it's too small of a place for it, and we didn't expect it to grow this quickly. And then if you look here, I mean, there's so many snails that a bunch of them have just fallen out. I cleaned this not long ago, and now there's so many more of them. So yeah, we need to get that snail eating fish soon, I think. Then coming outside, here are the plants that are not looking aesthetic at the moment. Our basil did not make it, so it's just a big brown place. There's a tomato plant that this was, you know, it's gone. We just have to take it out, that kind of thing. Then if we look here, these are the plants I mentioned that I watered. So this is one of our air plants that is doing fantastic. It even has a little baby here that grew out from it. And supposedly the mom plant dies usually when they have a, you know, an offshoot grow, but still going strong. Staghorn fern that is very, very happy. And then these are the orchids that I was talking about. This is one that Hayato rescued actually last year. Gorgeous. The blooms are so pretty. So that's one. And then the other one is this jewel orchid that we've had for about 2 years now. And it did not flower in previous years, but it flowered this year and it is thriving. Let's see if we can focus in. Camera doesn't want to focus. Let's try. Hang on, let's try sitting this down for a second. There we go. So here are the blooms from this one. Gorgeous. And it's called a jewel orchid because its leaves, you can't see in this light, but they shimmer gold. The veins shimmer gold because it's usually in the shade and likes to pick up as much light as possible. Got a bunch of new shoots, so the orchids that are inside are super happy right now. Wow, that's out of focus. There we go. And then these were from New Year's. They weren't meant to last. They're just displays for New Year's, so I need to take these out of the pots so we can repurpose them. So this wonderful man here just made us a delicious dinner. Well, it looks delicious. So we have miso fish, spicy bean sprouts, homemade potato salad, broccoli, and rice. Ooh, oishisou!
Frozen rice.
まあ、いただきます。
いただきます。
This is going to be a really quick update because I have to run out the door for work, like right now. But I just wanted to update you guys that I finished The Memory Police last night, and that book, it's left me feeling empty. It's one of those books that, you know, doesn't have a definitive ending, as a lot of Japanese literature doesn't. So that's not necessarily a surprise, but it's a book that clearly deals with the concept of loss and grief and how different people deal with that. At least that's what I took from it. But it's such a hauntingly, it's beautifully written, but it leaves me feeling empty. And I think that's kind of the point of the story. But I think it's going to be one of those where I'm going to have to sit on it for a little while before I can actually get my thoughts together. I'm still feeling kind of hollow from it, which in and of itself is a reaction. But I think I'll probably talk a little bit more about it when I check back in later, if I've sat on it for a little while, looked up some reviews, see what some other people thought. Because my thoughts are just kind of a swirl right now. I don't really know what to think of it. But I did end up giving it 4.5 or 5 stars. I haven't decided which yet because clearly it's got me thinking. And it was beautifully written. And I'm interested in reading other of Yoko Ogawa's works. She has a lot more recent ones that I think I would like to check out. But after that, in order to palate cleanse a little bit, I did read a couple more chapters of The Lost Metal. Unfortunately, I'm not going to have time to read that while I'm at work today on my break. I have a bunch of other stuff I need to do. But today's the last day of February, and if I can complete The Lost Metal today, that would be amazing if I could just sit down and have a marathon session after work. I'm about 50% through, and I blow through it whenever I do sit down to read it, and I'm still enjoying myself immensely, so maybe. We'll see if I can do it. I think this is an unrealistic expectation I'm giving myself right now, but I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try. Okay, so as you might have just seen from my reactions in that time lapse, I am now on chapter 41, and I have chapter 40. Guys, chapter 40, the reveals, the revelations, I am having so much fun. I actually yelled out loud, like Hayato was like, "You're right." Like, I said that I would keep the spoiler free, and I will, but chapter 40 is, I'm gonna have to go back and reread that, because this is just wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. I would say actually 39 and 40. It's one of those things where you're so invested in the Cosmere and in the world that it feels so satisfying when you get to read a chapter like that. So yeah, I'm gonna stop talking so I keep it spoiler free, but like, fuck yes, I'm so invested. My contacts are so dry. I definitely need to go like kind of get ready for bed. I have work tomorrow still, but like I want to keep reading. I'm on page 280, so I'm at least reading to 300 tonight, so we'll see. So it is the next day. I read late into the night. I read until I fell asleep. And then today is a very rainy, overcast day. So I ended up reading up until around now, before I had to get ready for work. Baby is also in a position right now that does not feel good. So sitting down really helps relieve some of the pressure from whatever position they've decided to be in at the moment. So it was just a very chill, like reading day for me. And so I am now, I think 50 pages till the end of the book, but unfortunately I have work now, so I'm not able to finish before I go. But the reveals, I should have brought the book with me for this check-in. I made a mistake to leave it in the room where I was reading, but there's so many tabs for connections and reveals, and I'm finding so much joy when those moments come up. There were a couple of plot points where it was really, what's the word I'm looking for? Convenient, that's what I'm looking for. Some really convenient plot points where I'm like, oh, of course you have that skill. Of course you're able to do that. But I don't really mind so much because it's just been such a roller coaster, like fast-paced ride, which is one of the reasons why I like Era 2 so much. It's so different from all the other Cosmere books, I feel, because this entire Era 2 series, including The Lost Metal, has the same vibes. It's more fun and fast-paced than other books, and I think that's a purposeful choice by Sanderson to give it that feel to it, and I love it. Also, Wayne works for some people and doesn't work for others, and if he doesn't work for you, then I think I can see why Era 2 might not be your favorite, especially The Lost Metal, but Wayne absolutely works for me. I love his character. I love him so much. And his humor just works perfectly for me. So because he works so well, this book works for me, I think. So I'm having a blast. I have about 50 pages left, and I'm excited to see, I think, the Sanderlanche has kind of I'm in the middle of the Sanderlanche right now, so I imagine some of the huge twists are coming in the next 50 pages. I'm excited to see what I read. I like the implications for how different magics can be combined. I'm living for it right now. So that's where I'm at with the Lost Metal. I have sat and thought about the memory police a bit longer, but so I'm starting to kind of settle into what I'm getting from the book, but I can't say that I'm ready to sit down and like talk about it. So by the last update of this vlog, I'll give you guys some more specific, more specific thoughts on that book. But for now, I'm going to finish the rest of the Lost Metal and then probably do one final check-in with you guys when I finish it, and I'll talk a little bit more about the memory. I can't say the name of that book, The Memory Police, when that happens. We just finished at the hospital. Baby's healthy, so we have to feed her now.
Yeah,
So we're getting
spicy.
we're getting Indian curry. What'd you get, babe?
Chicken sag curry.
Chicken spinach curry, and then I just got butter chicken. We got some cheese naan and some normal naan. I'll talk to you guys about the books in a bit. Okay, bye. So we're getting our oil changed in our car, and this is so Japan. They have a vending machine, there's a coffee service, you get like a coffee ticket, TV, really nice chairs. Also, you can stretch
This also.
if you're here for a long time. What are you using? 3D massage roll.
roll. Oh,
It's
stronger.
really
Wow.
vibrating. We're only here for about 50 minutes, but we have everything I guess we could possibly need. Let's make ourselves comfy, shall we? They also have a bunch of comic books you can read. So I was just checking out the first one of Hanayori Dango, which I have this. But I was just reading the first couple pages. Put that back. But they have some good ones. They have Boys Over Flowers, Hanayori Dango Nana, Shigeki no Kyojin, Attack on Titan. I always forget what the Shaman King. And Hayato really likes this one, which I'd never heard of before. Rookies. So yes, they have some manga and a little kids area. So they're prepared. But I guess it's Japan, so we shouldn't be so surprised. Hayato got me a cafe au lait with our little coffee service that we could get. So I'm gonna enjoy this and then do some reading. I'm reading Death's Beating Heart. I will close out this vlog soon. When we get home, I'll sit down and talk about the Lost Metal and the Memory Police. I'll close out the vlog with that, but just for what I'm currently reading, I started Death's Beating Heart while we were at the hospital this morning. Guys, I am tired. My stamina is questionable at this point in my pregnancy, so it is later after getting the oil changed and going to the hospital and all of that later that day and or that night, I guess. And I just want to close out this vlog so I can get it up for you guys. So sorry about the dark circles, but this is what I look like with no face makeup on nowadays. So what did I read in this vlog? The two main books, as you know at this point, are The Lost Metal and The Memory Police. So The Memory Police is the one I finished first, and that's the one I'll kind of give my final thoughts on first. So I mentioned that I really needed to sit with my feelings about this story, and I do think that it's one of those books that I can marinate on and think about for a really long time. But for me, the overall vibe that I get from it is vibe, っていうか the main thing that I got from it is dealing with loss and grief, no matter what that loss or grief might be, and the different ways that people might deal with that. So the idea of the memory police, if you don't know, is that our main character lives on an island, and on this island, disappearances happen, which is where they wake up one morning and something has disappeared from their lives. And when they first wake up, they don't know what it is. And then they can isolate it as a community, or it's quite obvious what has been erased, and it's collectively erased from everyone, except for a select few. And then the community slowly forgets about that thing. So there's no longer a gap in their memory. Like at first they'll feel upset maybe, or saddened by the hole in their life that the loss of this thing has created. But over time they start to adjust to it and forget that it existed, and it no longer brings up emotions for them. And then there are a select few who don't forget, and the memory police are in charge of finding these people and taking them away. We don't know what happens to them when they take them away. And they also have to track down any trace of this thing that has been forgotten and erase it so nothing can remind people of it again. And that's like the general idea of the entire story. This book is not about the plot, okay? So if you're a plot-based reader, that general description I just gave you is what the book is. It's what it's about, which isn't shocking for Japanese literature, really. It's more about the themes and the small things along the way rather than the plot points and, following character A from A to B to C kind of thing. We also have a really interesting structure where the main character is an author. She writes novels, and so we go between her story and a novel that she's writing. And so I really enjoy those kinds of narrative structures. I'm a fan of it. If you're not, just be aware that is a huge factor in this book. And I felt like the end of the story was hauntingly sad. Sad to me. I feel like it would be sad to most people, actually. Let me take that back. I think I can say that objectively the end of this is sad, but it might have a glimmer of hope for some people depending on how you interpret the themes of loss handled here. Whether that theme is saying that it could be a positive way to deal with loss or not, the ending of this book. And for me, I felt like it struck kind of an in-between chord where I was like, oh, I don't know if I like the implications of that, but I also can really connect to and sympathize with this aspect. So I don't know. I would definitely reread this book. I think I could get a lot out of it in the future, and I want to read more by Yoko Ogawa. I think I said that earlier in this vlog. This story by her, the original Japanese story, was actually released in 1994, and it just got a translation in 2019, which is why it feels kind of like recent for us who read in English. But she has a lot more recent books, and I really want to check some of those out. I think the most popular one that was actually made into a movie is like The Housekeeper and the Professor, I think. So I'd like to actually check that out because I think her writing was beautiful, even in the translation. So if this book seems interesting to you, I would say check it out. Don't go into it looking for answers, because Japanese literature in general, it doesn't finish tied with a bow. It doesn't finish with this is what I was trying to say. It doesn't give you answers. It's going to leave you with this is the story, take from it what you will. And that's very much what The Memory Police does. Then the second book that I finished is, of course, The Lost Metal by Brandy Sandy. I don't know if you could tell that I like this book. It's almost embarrassing how many tabs are in this thing. Pink and purple were like surprising moments or Cosmere connections or moments of recognition, and there's so many in here. As you saw in my live reactions and my checkups after, I was having a blast with the Cosmere connections. There were a couple names that were dropped and I was like, oh, like it was so exciting. I would actually almost recommend that this be the last book that you read in the Cosmere. I know some people have said that this book they don't like how Cosmere it is, because if you're someone who had just gotten into Sanderson, you read Mistborn Era 1, and you were reading Mistborn Era 2, and you hadn't read anything else in the Cosmere, this book would crack a bunch of things wide open that either you wouldn't understand or weren't ready for. And I can see that kind of criticism of this book, but at the same time, we are way into the Cosmere at this point. And I think as a reader, even a new reader who's just gotten into Mistborn, there's enough out there to tell you that these are going to be interconnected anyway. So if you were to read just Mistborn all the way through and then read this book, I do think, again, the enjoyment would be a bit lessened because you're not going to understand some of the crossovers. Of course, if you then go and read other parts of the Cosmere, you're going to make connections to this book and be like, oh, that's what that was talking about, which could be fun in and of itself. But I don't think that it's a bad thing that these connections are, gloves off, as, Sanderson said this book would be. So I see why people are criticizing it, but I don't really have a problem with that because, at this point, we should all be kind of expecting it. And if you get into Sanderson, there's enough out there, like I said, to know that this is going to be an interconnected Cosmere. So at some point, this is going to have to happen. It can't just be subtle hint, subtle hint, subtle hint for the whole time. So I'm down with the gloves off aspect. I enjoyed it immensely. And it actually made me want to go back and reread some other books from the Cosmere, because I was like, oh wait, I vaguely remember this, but I need more details now. So I may end up doing some rereads now after this, especially Elantris. I really want to go back and read Elantris. The plot of this book was not strong. I'll go into more details, like actual details for this in my wrap up, but in general thoughts were the plot of this was not that strong, and I think that's a very valid criticism of this book. The number of times we were told the main plot point here was like, I get it. I know that this is the ultimate thing that's coming. I understand Sanderson. So I think that was kind of a little bit overdone. The Sanderlanche was there in the sense of like the Cosmere connections and all of these things kind of coming to fruition, but it wasn't there in the twisty, plotty way that it usually is. There wasn't a twist at the end that really got me. The end of this book, you'll probably be able to guess how I felt about the end of this book, my emotion, because of what I said I was enjoying throughout the rest of this vlog. But it wasn't surprising. I was, when the ending happened, I was like, Sanderson, are we fighting? I think we're fighting. But I wasn't as emotionally distraught as I thought I would be, because the foreshadowing was so strong for what the end of this book was going to be. I felt it coming. And I think if you didn't, you weren't really paying attention, because he really made it clear, like, this is what's going to happen at the end, guys. Brace yourselves. So again, like I said, I'll get into more specific thoughts when I do my wrap up, which will be coming soon. But I give this a 5 out of 5 stars. I can see that it's not a perfect book, but for me, it was just such a wonderful reading experience that it's got to get a 5 out of 5. And as an Era 2 Mistborn fangirl from the beginning, not really shocking that I enjoyed this much. Actually, you guys really seem to enjoy food content, so I'm going to show you the delicious meal that I just made. He made a mayo shrimp. It doesn't sound good when I translate it, but it's delicious. So I'm going to show you guys a quick clip of that. But while I'm showing you that, don't forget to like, subscribe, and click that bell. I'd love to have you as part of this community, and I appreciate it. But for now, I'm going to head out. Jane! Here's the promised clip. Oh my god, it looks so good. Fried shrimp, potato salad, rice, and then you put this mayo sauce.
Homemade mayo sauce.
The homemade, apologies, the homemade mayo sauce onto these, and it's gonna be freaking delicious. Anyway, talk to you guys in the next vlog. Bye!